This week, the United States is delivering results that uphold our values, protect our interests, and reinforce American leadership on the global stage. Over the weekend, in solidarity with the Cuban people on the anniversary of the July 11th, 2021 protests, Secretary Rubio designated regime figurehead Miguel Diaz-Canel and two other senior officials under Section 7031C for gross human rights violations. This action builds on existing visa restrictions targeting Cuban judicial and prison officials involved in the unjust detention and torture of protesters. In addition, we are cutting off financial lifelines to the regime by updating the Cuba restricted list and Cuba prohibited accommodations list to include 11 regime-linked hotels. This week, also, President Trump, joined by Secretary Rubio, met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in the Oval Office. The president reiterated his desire to end the bloodshed in Ukraine and expressed disappointment in Vladimir Putin's continued refusal to do so. As part of this effort, President Trump announced the United States will sell advanced U.S. weapons to NATO allies who may choose to send them to other countries. 2 months after President Trump traveled to the Middle East, countries are still coming to us to build off the momentum that his trip generated. Bahrain's Crown Prince is visiting Washington today, as many of you would have noticed, where he announced Bahrain's intention to invest over $17 billion, that's with a B, in the United States. The deal constitutes a major U.S. commercial win that could support up to 30,000 American jobs. Regarding the situation in Syria, we heard the Secretary state during today's meeting in the Oval Office, quote, "It's complicated. Obviously, these are historic long-term rivalries between different groups in the southwest of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long, and with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track in helping Syria build a country and having a situation there in the Middle East that is far more stable. So in the next few hours, we hope to see some real progress to end what you've been seeing over the last few hours." Turning to our transatlantic partnerships, Secretary Rubio met yesterday with Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani to coordinate next steps on the Israeli-Iran ceasefire, reaffirm our joint resolve on Ukraine, and address shared challenges posed by China and developments in Latin America. In the Western Hemisphere, Deputy Secretary Christopher Landau met Monday with Haitian Prime Minister Phil Amé to discuss the urgent need to restore security, stability, and constitutional order in Haiti. He underscored continued U.S. support for the multinational security support mission. Looking to the Indo-Pacific, President Trump has announced the composition of the presidential delegation that is traveling to the World Expo in Osaka, Japan on U.S. National Day, which is tomorrow, Thursday, July 19th, 2025. The delegation is led by Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and includes Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau, a busy man. Since the expo opened on April 13th, nearly 1 million guests have visited the USA Pavilion, and we expect over 2 million visitors over the duration of the expo. The USA Pavilion serves a unique convening place for American companies to connect with potential customers and drive American prosperity. This event, along with our recent engagements with the Quad and ASEAN, reaffirms that U.S. leadership in the Indo-Pacific is enduring, strategic, and producing real results.
I wanted to ask on Gaza if you have any updates to provide on ceasefire talks or progress on that.
Yes, we do. There's still negotiations. I'm not going to get into the details of what those are. And of course, last week, you'll recall that Secretary Rubio said that we are hopeful. He says, I mean, in the end, we're hoping they'll move to proximity talks. So obviously, it's a negotiating process that is underway and ongoing. He said, "It appears that generally the terms have been agreed to, but obviously now you need to have talks about how to implement those terms." He noted, I should say now President Trump has noted, that we want to have a ceasefire. He's noted that many times. We have to have peace. We want to get the hostages back, and warned Hamas that it will only get worse if they don't agree to this arrangement. Right.
And then on Lebanon, Ambassador Barak was recently there and receiving a response to proposals or roadmaps for that country to disarm Hezbollah and implement certain reforms. Can you talk about any of the, I don't know what you want to call them, demands or asks that he made of the Lebanese government, specifically as it pertains to Hezbollah's weapons? Was there a timeline given? Has he warned that U.S. support could be withdrawn or reduced if the Lebanese government doesn't make any progress?
Well, as you'll learn, if we'll see you hopefully on occasion here, is that I won't speak about the nature of the specifics of what happens in a negotiation, what is asked for, what those conversations are. We do know, of course, that the ambassador, and as of course our special envoy also, has been very open about the fact that, and this was last week, that he was happy with the nature of the conversations and the commitment to disarm Hezbollah. I can also note on the same sort of issue when it comes to money that supports Hezbollah. The Ambassador Barak, stated that stopping the flow of Hezbollah's finances, including through Al-Qard al-Hassan, is a USA priority. We welcome Lebanon's recent efforts in that regard as well, as a step in the right direction, but more needs to be done. The Lebanese government must abandon the pretense that Al-Qard al-Hassan is an NGO under Lebanese law rather than what it is, which is a financial institution used by Hezbollah to subvert international sanctions regimes and undermine Lebanon's formal economy. So I can have that for you. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Tell me, there's a Qatari delegation.
We'll take your question, but then I'll come right back to you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
I know you're like really close to each other. All right, go ahead.
There's a Qatari delegation visiting the White House tomorrow. And is the Secretary going to be holding separate talks with members of the delegation? And also, what role do you think the Qataris can play in helping secure a ceasefire?
Well, I won't discuss what the Secretary's plans are at this point or who he'll be meeting with. We do know, of course, Qatar has been helpful in the past as a partner, but I won't go into the details of what we can expect in that regard. All right? And now, yes, sir.
The administration has done a lot of work with the new government in Syria to try and nurture relations, to try and embed stability there, lifting sanctions and delisting HTS and things like that. How did these Israeli strikes, which seem to amount to very sharp escalation, extremely dramatic and devastating pictures, particularly from Damascus, of the impact of the bombings, how does that affect your attempts to build that relationship with the new Syrian government?
Well, of course, we know, and we've made a tremendous commitment there to stabilize Syria, and our special envoy, Ambassador Barak, is leading that. And of course, we know of that escalation. Clearly, we've been involved in addressing it. And I think that what is clear still comes from the Secretary's remarks regarding the issue of it being a miscommunication, essentially, and I think that's significantly different than an escalation. But I would wait for us to hear from the Secretary and the President as today unfolds. But neither of them had indicated that this seemed to be a dynamic that indicated something that could not be resolved. Their comments certainly indicated that they expected it to be and hoped it to be, and indicated even, again, for within the next few hours could be facilitated. Also about that, though, we do understand that the Israeli forces intervened to protect the Druze. So that is something we can confirm to you. But obviously, I think the comments of the Secretary speak for themselves.
Just on one other issue is the ambassador, Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel, appeared in the court hearing for Prime Minister Netanyahu's corruption trial today. I'm just trying to understand what part of the U.S. national interest is served by doing that.
Well, we obviously support Israel. They are an ally and a partner. I won't characterize, as I don't anyone, their position or the actions they might take, but it would appear that the ambassador was exhibiting his support for Netanyahu.
But against the judicial system, I mean, is this an expression of trust?
I don't.
in the judicial system?
I know that our inclination sometimes is to look into like the broader issues that we're all working on, but I would not suggest that someone attending to support someone facing a situation as some kind of a larger commentary about a judicial system or a country or anything beyond showing support for someone that they know or a friend. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. On the Syria, the Secretary obviously said that he had been in discussions all morning and night. Were you given advance warning that Israel was going to strike Damascus?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that the reaction of the President and Secretary of State indicate that we're reacting as we should when it comes to seeing something that was unexpected and could be resolved. And then their comments today indicated that that was the response and what they expect to have happen, which they've obviously conveyed to the parties involved.
And then just quickly, back to Ambassador Huckabee. Yesterday he issued quite a stern tweet calling the killing of a young American in the West Bank a terrorist act. Is that a reflection of a broader State Department viewpoint that the killing of Saif Musab
Well,
was a terrorist
again,
act?
and welcome back, by the way. So it
you.
says thank you. I'm, again, not going to characterize anyone's comments. I think that we've been clear. I can, of course, expand a little bit on our position in this regard. One thing, of course, we do repeat, and it's important, as the Secretary has also repeated, is that Ambassador Huckabee has asked Israeli authorities to aggressively investigate this case. And we refer you to the government of Israel for additional details related to that investigation. Because of the nature of the world these days, I say very often that we have no higher priority than the safety and security of U.S. citizens. It's a reminder to everyone watching at home the role of the State Department and why we work as hard as we do. We can confirm the death of a U.S. citizen, Saif Musab, in the West Bank on July 11th. We offer condolences to the family on their loss and are providing consular assistance to them. We are greatly concerned when any U.S. citizen is harmed overseas, wherever that may be. The United States calls for accountability in all cases where U.S. citizens are harmed abroad.
And then one on the reorg, there's been some criticism that these cuts and these changes actually run counter to the administration's priorities of making America safer, stronger, more prosperous. What do you say to those?
Obviously,
critiques?
that's wrong. That's wrong. We've done these things because it's not just having the vision, but knowing how we need to have that vision implemented. I've said from the very start, and it is, I understand why it comes back. This idea that an existing structure that's large is the only thing that will work, or it's large because it does work. The opposite was true. It became large and began to lose its way and became ineffectual. Bureaucratically, it's such a largesse there that things really couldn't get done. Not the fault of the people who were in those seats, but the structure itself. So you can look at a giant building that can't get anything done because of the bureaucracy and the number of offices and the duplications, and it was not working. To cut something down, to have fewer people, to have fewer offices is not necessarily, and certainly in this case at all, true. That means that certain things are going to stop, or certain things aren't going to be functioning as well. Fact of the matter is, they will function better. That we will be able to serve the American people, get our mission done, implement our vision, because it's functional. So let's not mistake size and bulk for the appropriate methodology. You've got a nimble, effective organization that is what we need in order to get things done. Because of the 21st century, you learn about things now. If something happens as we did, let's say with Syria, something happens in Syria right this minute, in 2 to 5 minutes, all of you are going to hear about it on some platform or through some wire service, many of which you will be working for, and it'll be your colleagues. But we will hear about something in the other hemisphere within minutes of it happening. And then we don't have weeks or months to determine what our reaction will be. We also need to have a space where we can act at, when he says the speed of relevancy, the Secretary is talking about acting in a world where news and information and reality comes to us almost immediately, and we need to act accordingly. So, those who say that this is going to harm the agenda of keeping America safe and strong, that isn't just now. That's the agenda of the American people. We've always wanted that. The American government, by becoming too big, has abandoned us in some fashion in that regard, and we've seen the suffering of the American people throughout generations. This makes it better, makes us safer, makes us stronger. And we will see that because it is fast. You will see that being implemented.
Do you think the absence of the comprehensive political solution in Syria, one that safeguards the rights of minority groups like Kurds and Druze, has impacted the situation like that? We've heard Ambassador Barak said that the U.S. does not support federalism in Syria. So how should the minority groups like Kurds and Druze feel safe to integrate within a government which they go and insult their dignity?
Well, obviously, this has been very fast-moving. It's been made very clear there through our support with Ambassador Barak what our intentions are. We've understood that the results have to be, you can put your hand down, sir, thank you, that the results have to be described. People there in Syria have to see results, especially regarding the infrastructure. At the same time, this is a new fluid dynamic. And this is where I think when we talk about misunderstandings, how the communication between friends, new neighbors, partners, we have to be able to act quickly if there is a misunderstanding, if certain situations occur. And this is what is very impressive here about what I've been watching over the hours while this unfolded, is the immediate involvement of the President himself, of the Secretary of State, in public, discussing it, having statements be out, making it clear to as much as they can what their commitment is to this situation, to de-escalate. What is the position of the United States? That's what when we talk about being at the speed of relevancy. That is what can matter in this situation in a region that has been in a very tough spot for a very long time. The President has discussed this. So I think that the Syrians, the people there, the Israelis, the Syrian government, the region, know now that people are home here, that the United States is engaged, that we are involved in a committed way, that President Trump cares about each aspect. And certainly, of course, we've heard from the Special Envoy Barak, in addition to the nation's leadership. That in and of itself we think is important, in addition to the results that will come with the diplomacy that we've exhibited over certainly the beginning of this term.
After the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, India is now releasing threatening statements and has blocked water supply to millions of Pakistani by suspending Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan says it considers it as an act of war, as more than 240 million Pakistanis rely on the supply of this water for agriculture and basic needs. So what are your comments on this?
Well, yes, that's specifically, I have nothing for you regarding that particular dynamic, but let's see what we can find, and we will get it back to him.